In Season 15 of Destiny 2, Bungie reintroduced the Comedian Shotgun from Destiny 1 into Destiny 2 as a Nightfall exclusive weapon. This means that it can roll as an Adept variant and all the things that come with that. It can equip Adept mods, etc., etc. So there I was, browsing the new weapons perks, all the new weapons for the new season. As I usually do every season, I look to see, like, okay, this is the role I want on this weapon, and that weapon, and that weapon. And there I come to the Comedian, interested to see, because I like doing Nightfalls. I'm like, okay, so here's one of the weapons we're going to be getting from the Nightfalls. These usually have some pretty good rolls. First off, I'm hesitant because it's a shotgun, but then I notice that it can roll Subsistence and Unrelenting. So I get this vision in my mind of being able to basically run around using heavy-handed and just blow up ads and never run out of ammo and constantly be healing. So I'm like, okay, conceptually that sounds really cool. But then when you go to use it, yes, it kind of works like that, but it also kind of doesn't. So I'll be getting into these details and many more in this video. There are two topics I want to cover related to the shotgun in this video. First, being shotgun viability in the endgame of Destiny 2. And second, the viability and effect of certain build crafting, the extent to which you can build craft your way out of a problem. So on screen, I'm going to show the mods that I used and the loadout that I used for all these things in the background gameplay. So the main things here are heavy-handed and quick charge. Heavy-handed is the mod paired with another arc mod. It allows you to basically get unlimited fusion, SMG, sidearm, shotgun, and some other weapon ammo. Now, obviously SMGs and sidearms have infinite ammo now because they're primaries, but this mod was a Charged with Light mod, which was made before stasis and all this other stuff, so maybe they'll go and change that mod or fix it or whatever. But basically, this mod allows you to have unlimited ammo in shotguns and fusions. That's the big thing for it, as long as you're quote-unquote surrounded by enemies. Now, I think the term surrounded by enemies means that you need to be near 3 enemies that have them around you. And I remember this used to only be 2, but then Bungie changed it because people were using the mod and it was working well. I mean, that's another topic. But then we have Quick Charge, which is how I get Charged with Light. And then as my third mod, my sort of Charged with Light using mod, I usually hate on this mod, but I actually went with Extra Reserves because I was like, okay, I'm using a Void weapon. This already needs Extra Reserves, requires Void weapon kills. Then I already am using Quick Charge, which, to be fair, I'm using Quick Charge for the passives, which is a faster dexterity with shotguns, fusions, stuff like that, and swords. So that was the main reason I was using Quick Charge, but I figured, hey, you know, I'm getting Charged with Light. So it was either between Extra Reserves and Protective Light. And at first I was using Protective Light, but I noticed my ammo economy wasn't doing so well. I tried using like Special Finisher and all these other things, but I think Extra Reserves actually did find a place in this build, and an effective place. The other 2 mods I'm using are Elemental Well mods, that being Reaping Wellmaker whenever I use my class ability, my Rift, and then I get a kill, I make a Void Elemental Well. Then the other mod is Well of Tenacity. Whenever I pick up a Void Elemental Well, I get some resist stacks. So that's basically right there. So if I need to run out to an enemy, I get damage resist. So all this build crafting in place, I go and test it into Legend Lost Sectors, Master Lost Sectors, and eventually the Grandmaster. So as far as Legend and Master Lost Sectors go, this build actually worked pretty well. It worked a lot better than I thought it would. That's why I actually went into a Grandmaster, because I was going into the Legend and Master Lost Sectors and I was like, hey, you know, this is actually working how I pictured it in my head before I got the weapon. But then I go into the Grandmaster, and don't get me wrong, it's not like it completely failed. I think it's just a fact that I was using double specials, so I didn't actually have a source of infinite ammo, so I was forcing myself to run at people with a shotgun or use arbalist ammo on people that maybe I shouldn't have been. Now look, that you could argue that's completely a failing of mine, and you know, it kind of is, but the thing is, I wanted to have a barrier weapon, and this is kind of how the seasonal mods work. You have to do a certain playstyle, so I was like, okay, I can't go into this without mods. I had Overload Sword and Barrier Arbalist. And the whole point of this build is that it's supposed to be focusing on not running out of ammo with a shotgun. I should be able to run into a group of enemies, unload some shotgun rounds, and come out with only like -1 or 2 ammo than what I went in with. Because it's not like you gain ammo from the quick charge, or not quick charge, from heavy-handed, you just maintain your ammo. because you gain 1 ammo. But now maybe with a fusion rifle you can do it because you can get more than 1 target, but that's beyond the point. So generally speaking, my ammo economy was pretty good. It wasn't the worst, but I also did put myself into these situations because I was using double special. But beyond me doing dumb stuff, I think it actually worked out pretty well. Now, to be fair, I did this on the easiest of Grandmasters, and this is what I was saying, like, it's technically viable, but you just would never want to actually run this. I was doing this with LFG people, and they were cool with me doing it, and I guess because it was on the easiest Grandmaster. Like, that's fair, like, all this stuff is granted. But if I were trying to go into, like, the glass way with this, you'd be, you're not gonna do it with in the glass way. So in a way it's viable, but in a way it's not. Now, Legend of Master Lost Sectors, certainly it's perfectly fine. Solo play, perfectly fine, because you can control how every single enemy dies. You can say, okay, I'm going to group up these enemies and kill them all with my shotgun, so I maintain my special ammo. So in that way, you can kind of actually make really good use for this build. So I would argue this build is really good for solo stuff, not so good with team stuff. So that's basically the gist of the build. It works as intended, but it's not the best thing in the world for doing GMs. Now onto the second topic of the video. How far can you build craft your out of a hole, basically? Like, so if you look at this build, it's all focused around getting ammo and maintaining shotgun ammo. I even have some damage resist in there. I got transversive steps on. That's for me to sprint into the places, get closer to people with shotguns so I can one-shot them. Now, look, you can make the argument like, okay, you missed that guy, you had bad aim right there. Yeah, granted, I do have bad aim sometimes, and that's fair. Like, maybe a lot of these deaths, I guess, would have been prevented or could have been prevented had I killed the target I was shooting at, because my unrelenting would have procced up. Maybe you could make the argument that I'm just not used to using this as much as I should be, and maybe with more practice it will be better. But I think the problem that it comes down to is, like, I have all these mods, and conceptually they sound really cool. The description, you read them, but then when you actually go to use them, it's like, it's really sad, because you're like, okay, well, that would be usable if this could happen. It would be usable if I was using this subclass. It would be usable if this happened. So many of the build crafting in Destiny is not very... It's kind of out of your control. You're like, ooh, if it's more like, ooh, I got lucky, and now my build can take effect. It's not so much like, okay, my build is going to be the thing that defines my gameplay. It's like, okay, I have my guns and my subclass, and then my build is kind of there, so, like, sometimes it'll be working. It's not like in an MMO where, like, you get some giant bear that comes out of nowhere and, like, mauls your enemies every third hit or whatever. There's, like, little consistency to the build crafting in Destiny. And that's kind of the sad thing, because you can look at the gameplay. I actually took the time to put a build together to centralized around one weapon. And like I said, you can make all those arguments about bad aim and stuff, but generally speaking, it was not, like, why would I do this? Like, that's the problem. Why would I take the time to make this build and do all these things that synergize together when the outcome is like, okay, I could have literally just been doing, like, double sidearms, and I would have been better off than what I was doing right here. Like, there needs to be a reward structure set up to where when I put the build together, it is substantially better than without the build. And in this situation, like I was saying, it does work, but you would never want to run this over, like, an actual build. Like this was kind of a meme build, you could say. And yeah, I get it kind of is. But conceptually, it should work. You have auto-reloading gun when you get a kill. You have unrelenting, which heals you. You have unlimited ammo, so you should be able to kill a bunch of ads and run at them with a shotgun. But the way the maps are designed and all these other compounding issues, build crafting just isn't in the place that it should be. So for that reason, I think shotguns, it's really hard to actually take a shotgun into a Grandmaster, into a Master Vogue, into anything in game. So for that reason, I would recommend not using shotguns. I'd like to thank everyone for watching, and if you like the video, a thumbs up is appreciated. If you want to see more content like this, consider hitting the subscribe button. And if you sticked around this long, I'd like to ask you, do you think shotguns need some sort of change in order to be viable in the in-game? Should every weapon have some viability in the in-game? Should there be certain weapons that just aren't viable in the game? Like, Should shotguns only be relegated to PvP? Is that basically what the game should be? Or, I don't know. I just want to hear y'all's opinions. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day.